Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Tiger, and in this video, we are going to be talking about The Social Dilemma. You know, it's a great documentary that's out right now. It's on Netflix. But, in case, let's say you don't have 2 hours on your hands, right? I can understand. So basically, I'm just going to break down all the main points, all the key statistics, just everything that you need to know about this documentary. Also, in the future, I'm going to be posting some other videos. My channel is basically psychology related, so if you're into that, yeah, you can sub, I guess. That'd be cool. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. As somebody who currently has no social media whatsoever, I don't use Facebook, I don't use Snapchat, I don't use Instagram, I don't use any of that nonsense. I probably will create an account for my channel, though. I don't know when, but I feel like I'm qualified to review this because I've seen the way social media and also just technology in general has affected other people. And even though I don't have social media, I'm still also a victim to it because a lot of my data is being tracked because I use YouTube quite frequently. All my browser history is constantly being monitored, right? And that gets us right to the start of this documentary. We got this guy by the name of Tristan, not Tristan Thompson, the guy that cheated on Khloe Kardashian. I don't know why I even know that. But anyway, there's this guy by the name of Tristan Harris. He's basically the lead figure of this documentary. And he's kind of like technological ethicist or whatever, trying to make sure that we use technology ethically. And he's been called the closest thing Silicon Valley has to a conscience. But right away, Tristan's just like, yeah, there's so many bad things about social media and technology. You got fake news, you got stealing people's data, you got technological addiction. And then he tells like a little anecdote. He's just like, oh yeah, hey, I used to work at Google once, right? You see that Gmail? Yeah, I worked on that. That was me. Yeah. See that the red font? That was my job. And you know what? I basically was just like, hey, I'm kind of addicted to Gmail right now. So yeah, I see this as a problem. And also the way that people are using the data, it's just messed up. And first of all, we're literally saying in our meetings that we want people to get addicted to it so that we can make more money. Don't you guys see any issue with that? Like, literally, he's just like, yeah, so we're just kind of manipulating people and making them addicted to technology intentionally, and we're literally hiring behavioral psychologists to manipulate individuals. Do you think maybe we could do something about that? Get the fuck out of here, Tristan. But really, in actuality, basically, he wrote kind of this little presentation one morning, and he sent it to all his Google employees, just like 20 or 40. Then the next morning, he comes to the office, and it's just like the talk of the town. Somehow, this email, this little presentation that he messaged to just a few people about ethics, et cetera, and how to use technology in a civilized way, it just popped off the chain, man. And now you had hundreds of employees just reading it, and the general response was actually pretty positive. They're just like, hey Tristan, good job. Hey Tristan, you're cool. That's awesome. And there's probably one guy's like, yeah, your linguistic style is a little bit off there. I think for the and the adjective there, yeah, you probably could have adjusted that a little bit. Maybe use a little bit more adverbs, and I think it'd be maybe like a 3 out of 10. Other than that, basically, again, everybody was kind of in praise. Everybody was like, wow, Tristan, this is such a great presentation. You're right. And then it even went up to Larry Page, who is kind of one of the big men in the hierarchy, right? And he had 3 meetings that day. Larry Page, who's the CEO of Google, and they talked about it. And Tristan was just like, wow, maybe I really am creating change with this. And it turned out that after just a few days, it just totally waned out. It just fizzled away. All of that momentum just fizzled into the dust. Nothing happened at all. That's when Tristan was just like, you know what, maybe I need to leave Google. Yeah. But then, yeah, that transitions to the next major figure of this documentary, who was one of the former directors of monetization at Facebook. That, by monetization, basically, that's just he's in charge of figuring out how Facebook is going to make money. And he basically figured out during his time that the best way to make the most money was advertisements. And if you wanted to make money through advertisements, then you had to use data. And the thing with advertising is this, right? Basically, Facebook has their service, right? You see all these different ads probably popping up on Facebook on your page that you probably don't want to see. But the reality is Facebook is saying, okay, hey, if you advertisers want to pay us to see your content on these pages, then you got to pay us a little bit of moolah, okay? Little bit of cheddar. And the key thing to remember here is that a successful advertisement is going to bring more money, not only to the advertisers, but also to Google and Facebook and all these different companies. So Facebook and Google, they want to make sure that the advertisers are targeting the correct audience, right? So let's say, for example, that you're like an advertiser and you are the owner of a steakhouse and you want to advertise your restaurant to customers throughout the city. It's probably not a good idea if you try to target vegans. I don't think they're gonna like the fact that you are selling New York strip, man, or filet mignon. They're probably not gonna be cool with that, and you're probably not gonna get a lot of leads off of that. But if you, for example, and you can literally do this, for example, with Google Ads and Facebook. Like if you're an advertiser, you go on there, you can get really specific. You can literally say, hey, I want to target a person who is within this income bracket, a person who's male or female, a person who's living in this city, in this vicinity, even by occupational interest. And because your data is tracked, like let's say, for example, you're really into soccer or something, Google is going to know that you like soccer. So they're like, hey, this guy likes soccer, so maybe you can, if you want to sell your Lionel Messi jersey, maybe he'd be interested in it, you know? So it gets very specific. And even if you want to attract very specific keywords too, like a good example of this right now is go on Google, just type in like clothes, right? Just literally clothes. And actually, I'll do this real quick. I'm going to type in clothes right now. There's ads. That's the first thing that comes up. It literally says ads and in a little tiny font. So some people might not even realize that it's ads, but I see this, right? Graphic, embroidered, contrast sleeve, PS, basic men's, 3-pack scallop. See, so they know my gender. I didn't tell them that information. Well, actually, probably in my Gmail, whatever. But guys, drawstring, elastic waist, guys, vertical. So they know who you are. And they also know if you're into street fashion or whatever. So it gets very specific. And yeah, some of you might be like, okay, well, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's great, because now I'm not going to see like ladies' clothes. But it actually gets a little bit dangerous to think like that, because as they talk in the documentary, it's not just about showing you the right ads, it's also about making you stay on the platform. So engagement time is really important. They want you to spend as much time on Facebook so you can see more ads, and as much time on YouTube so that you can see more ads. That's how it works, right? Because YouTube makes money from you staying on the platform or watching this video. Actually, not this video. Hey, don't click out, guys. Hey, please. Look, man, I'm an innocent man. I have 0 kids, which is probably not going to help my cause, but please. No, but this is not even a monetized channel, so you won't see any ads. But on other occasions, yes, there will be ads, and I'm sure you see it all the time, whether that's an Allstate. I mean, you seriously, you don't know how many times I've seen the Allstate guy. Like, I've had enough of that, man. And but seriously, that's kind of how they get you. And if you look to the right of this video in the panel or whatever, you'll see recommended videos. It'll say, hey, do you want to watch this next? And YouTube has an algorithm to specify which videos you as an individual are going to be more interested in. So it's not just some coincidence that, you know, if you like soccer, you're getting recommended soccer videos. It's not some coincidence that if you're into conspiracy theories, you are going to get recommended conspiracy videos. And that is another problem, right? Because I think, especially when you look at conspiracy theories and fake news, that's when it gets a little bit problematic. And as they talk about in the documentary, our political landscape here, not just the United States, but in the world as a whole, is more polarized than it's ever been in a long time. And a lot of that is actually driven by fake news, because this is one interesting thing, right? When they talk about the Russians hacking, they didn't actually hack, right? What they did was they paid for certain advertisements to be displayed to different people, right? So people, for example, were kind of on the brink who maybe are independent and kind of on the edge. It's like, hey, let's show these people propaganda that's Republican based or far right, right? And then you have other advertisers say, okay, far left. So it pulls at you and pulls at the individuals that we have in the United States. It pulls at the threads of our society and makes it separate from the whole. And that's a real problem. But that's not all, my friends. What's really scary, this is probably the scariest part of this documentary, is that these algorithms are not built necessarily with the good intentions of human beings, right? Because these algorithms, their ultimate goal is to drive profit and to drive revenue. They're not controlled by humans. They are artificial intelligence drive machines. So they are constantly improving their algorithm, right, to make sure that they get more engagements, they get more watch time, you spend more time on Instagram, Facebook, all these different applications. And they also work to try to change your behavior. Like, for example, fake news tends to get a lot more traffic than real news. And the reason for that is because it's shocking and it's engaging, right? Nobody wants to hear the truth because the truth is often very boring and stale. People like hearing crazy stuff, like, for example, it had the Pizzagate or flat earth conspiracy theories, because those things are interesting, but you can kind of understand, like, somebody who was before totally normal, not really into conspiracy theories, is all of a sudden being pushed by the algorithm to all of a sudden believe in these more kind of outlandish ideologies and belief systems. And even beyond the algorithm, there's also behaviorists who, for example, literally want to make sure that your technology itself, like your phone itself, is designed to condition you to engage longer. For example, you have the little ringer, right? Every single time you hear the notification. That's classic psychology, man. Pavlov's conditioning experiment with dogs, where basically he conditioned the dog to start salivating whenever he rang the bell, because the dog thought that, oh, the bell means that my food's coming, right? So it's pretty messed up what you can do. They kind of pinpoint the psychological features of the human mind and say, how can we exploit this? That's exactly what they've been doing with this technology. So again, every single time you hear a ring, every single time you get a phone call, et cetera, right? A notification, maybe, oh, somebody's liked your post, oh, somebody unfollowed you, or whatever it might be. It forces you to just say, oh man, I have to look at that, and therefore spend more time. And then guess what? Maybe 30 minutes you could have spent trying to become the next Gordon Ramsay is now spent on 30 minutes just perusing random cat videos or whatever you watch on Instagram, right? Because I feel like nobody at first just like, yeah, I'm probably gonna spend like 2 hours on YouTube after this video. Like, nobody has that intention. Most of them are just like, yeah, I'll just watch this video and then I'll be done. But moving on to something even more important, I think, is addiction. And in particular, the kind of negative psychological effects that social media has on people. And in particular, we've seen this a lot in this kind of modern age where, yes, everything is kind of idealized. You have all these filters on Snapchat and Instagram, et cetera. People have to look picture perfect. They can only take a snapshot of their lives, where it seems like everything is great, everything is beautiful. Even this camera, man, this is a top level quality. Well, it's not that good, but it's all right. It's a decent, I mean, you see I even got the lights, bro. There has been research that has indicated that the level of suicides has exponentially grown since the 2010s, right? So even in terms of cutting yourself, I know this is getting dark really fast, but yeah, when you look, for example, at the suicide rate for girls 15 to 19, you're looking at about a 70% increase since the average of 2001 to 2010. So from that time, it spiked. And what could be the cause of that? I think you might know. At least one of the major causes is social media. And even more concerning is that if you look at the preteen girls aged 10 to 14, the suicide rates have gone 141%. That's a lot, right? A lot. You see the difference between that and the other age group? That's pretty interesting. And also when you consider the fact that historically, the levels have been very stable for both of these age groups. They haven't just spiked like that. They've been kind of, even in the 70s, 80s, relatively similar to the early thousands. But now, the timing in which the spike has appeared has coincided with the rise of social media and the phone and things like that. And it reminds me of this song by Echo Smith. They're a kind of alternative music group. I really like them. Shout out to you, Echo Smith. They have no idea who I am, and they probably don't care. They have this song. Gosh, it's called "The Lonely Generation." And it's like, let me just real briefly. It's like "Lonely Generation." I can't sing. Okay, it's like the lonely generation. It's like empty conversations and stuff like that, right? That's interesting because that's kind of what I feel even my current generation faces as well. You see that the level of sociality. I actually told my friend this last night. I said that Our generation is technologically competent, but socially incompetent. You can put a little quote there, quotes.com, my friends. Nah, it's not that. It's not that good. But but that's kind of the way I think things are progressing. I see the generations that are below me as kind of having so much anxiety, so much fear, and it's not their fault. It's really results of the technology that we were so naive to place. Especially if you look at the evolution of the human mind and our brains in particular, we evolved in groups of 100 people, right? So feedback was very important. If somebody didn't like you, that's not a good sign, and you have to change your behavior as a result of that. But nowadays we live in this world with 7 billion people, and even if you're on social media, I see these people have like thousands of followers, thousands upon thousands of followers. And the reality is no human being can have a sustainable relationship with 1,000 people. That's not even possible. That's not possible. Because again, our brains evolved when we were in groups, small groups of about 100 people. But socializing was very important. And yeah, social media can be addicting because of that, because that's kind of our only way to socialize nowadays, because the system is just not really set up for us to, just say, hey, let's just create a commune with 100 people and just like chill and just love each other. It's kind of past that point, unfortunately. But going back to the whole like Google search thing, what's really messed up is, they mentioned in the documentary, is that depending on your location, if you type in something like climate change you'll get these different recommendations depending on your search history and also your location. It's funny because I remember when I was in South Florida, near Naples, and just at my parents' house or whatever, and I noticed that the advertisements that I got on my phone were totally different. I had so much like Trump and Republican. I was like, dude, I don't support Trump. Like, I live in a pretty liberal place. Like, why is this coming out? I was like, oh, it must be the location. Because as soon as I came back here in a more liberal state, I don't get those commercials anymore. But I also have noticed the whole thing with what you search. That's the thing, because everybody's just like, oh, it's a small world. Oh, it's a small world. No, it's not a small world. The algorithm just knows the kind of people that you vibe with and is going to instantly make sure that you connect with those kinds of people who are similar to you, right? And it makes you think that you're a lot normal than you really are. So it makes you think that having kind of more outlandish ideas is more common than it really is. Like, for example, being on the far right or on the far left, guess what? It's not really that common in reality, but we kind of act like, oh, half the population's either super far right or super far left, when that's not even the case at all. But anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I really hope you liked it. And if you did, subscribe, because I'm gonna be posting a lot of new content in the future that hopefully you'll like. But more importantly, I want you to comment down below. I want you to kind of just give me your thoughts on it. Do you think social media is good? Do you think social media is bad? And also, did you watch the documentary? What did you think about it? But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.